Thank you very much. I have a microphone here to help so you can all hear me.
What?
Right. So the topic today is artificial intelligence. I'm going to ask you some questions. How many of you have heard of AI before? Be honest. Have you ever heard of it? Okay, everybody. So how many of you like AI? Yeah, it's good. It's beneficial. How many of you have kids? How many of you have grandkids? All right. So AI may not influence us as much as it's going to influence future generations. So my next slide is a tribute to, wow, that's dark, is a tribute to those of us who grew up with comic books. Alfred E. Newman, Bad Magazine, and What Me Worry. So I hope by the end of this talk, you won't be too worried, but you'll be a little worried, all right? So if you want to reach me, I have a Gmail there for you. I'm going to give a copy of the slides to Carol, and she'll distribute them to the community. So I promise this is the last of these dynamic slides, all right? So here are some questions that we want to discuss during the talk. And you may have others, and if you do, just hold on to them until the end. We'll have a question-answer time, and we can explore some of these issues. So what is AI? What are some important applications that we may know about, may not? Are there safeguards or guardrails for AI? You know, how will we interact with AI? Is that even a question we should be talking about? Or will AI take over our lives? All right. And what are some of concerns about AI's ramification for our society? We're human beings. We do things well. We've always figured that we're the top dog in this evolutionary spiral. But what if digital intelligence takes over from our native intelligence? What is going to happen then? Are we going to be subservient to AI? I hope not. I hope we'll be able to cooperate with AI. So here's what I'm going to be talking about today. Give a definition of artificial intelligence, some history of where we were and where we are now, some nice applications, some hot topics. We'll talk about some of the people you read about in the news, some leaders in AI. We'll talk about the singularity point, the point at which AI will become as smart or even smarter than humans. We'll have some conclusions, and I have homework for you in the references. So, you know, you're my students today, so I'm going to give you homework, all right? But it's easy homework, and there'll be no quiz, all right? So don't worry about that. So what is AI? So AI aims to make computers smart in a way that mimics the way humans think. That's good. But AI can also do things that we don't do. They may be thinking about things that we don't think about. Right? AI learns from data. It makes decisions, and if it makes a mistake, it can correct itself, which is pretty cool. And then Ilya Sutskever, who created ChatGPT, he says that AI is a digital brain in a computer. Very simple definition. So I think it's worthwhile to think about AI and its ramifications. So we'll go on. I want to talk about Alan Turing. He, you might have seen this movie, right? I don't remember the name of it, but during World War II, he led a team that constructed a computing machine that decoded messages from the Enigma machine that Germany had developed. And Germany wasn't aware that we could read their messages. And this helped win the war. And Alan Turing came up with this test called the Turing test, where he proposed, this was in 1950, a long time ago, that if you have a human being talking to a human behind a screen, say a curtain, a human and a machine, if the person asking questions cannot tell which is the human and which is the machine, if the machine is as good as the human, then the machine has passed the Turing test. So that was the first kind of test for this idea of artificial intelligence. All right? So the test doesn't necessarily measure how intelligent the machine is. It just says the machine has been able to dialogue as if it were human. If it were human. All right? So Alan Turing, a very important person at the beginning of computer science. So the origins of AI can be dated back to 1956. And there were a group of academics and industrial lab scientists who got together at a workshop at Dartmouth University. And that's when they created the field of AI. They gave it a name, artificial intelligence. And I don't know if you can see it from here, but we have John McCarthy. He later ended up at Stanford. Marvin Minsky from at Harvard University. He was then at MIT. Mr. Rochester from IBM Corporation, and Claude Shannon, who was at Bell Labs. And Claude Shannon is the father of modern information theory. So these were high-powered minds working together to develop a new field that we now call artificial intelligence. So as part of the history of AI, I go back to the brute force. I call it the brute force approach. And this is a picture on the right of IBM's Deep Blue supercomputer. And it was designed to play chess, all right? And it did it very well. In fact, it beat Garry Kasparov at chess, and he was a grandmaster. And the way it did it, it had, in chess, you have a finite number of moves that you can make. And so it explored the whole set of moves and decided which one was best at that particular time. And by doing that, by having that capability of a brute force expansion of this, what I call the solution space, it could find at each point in time, every move, which was the best move to take then. All right? We find now in modern AI that's going to be different. We're not going to be using brute force. All right? Another approach later on was the rule-based approach, where you give a system explicit rules. You set down the rules and it will execute them. And we call those expert systems, and I built one, talked about the MedClaim system. In the 80s, I built one at the University of South Carolina with my team. So I was the principal investigator on that. The next phase is what I call the modern phase, all right? And that's where we are now. It's machine learning. It's the machine learning approach, and what we have these neural networks, very much like the neural networks in our brain. We have neurons in our brain, and they are connected, and they fire, and they allow us to move our brain is doing all of this, right? Moving our hands and whatever else, folding our arms, listening. That's all being done by the brain, and there are neurons in the brain that fire and essentially control our bodies. So we have these artificial neural networks that are nodes connected to other nodes, and they can be trained to fire based on patterns that they see or they're exposed to. All right? So that's a very important concept, the idea of a neural net. It's trained on powerful computers, so you need a lot of computing power to do this, and using massive data sets. So this is where things are different. We have all this data coming in, we train our neural nets, and then when they get a new pattern coming in, they can identify what it is. So we'll see examples of these neural networks working for certain applications. All right, so where is this data coming from? How many of you use Facebook? Huh? You know that Facebook doesn't forget anything. Everything you do, every like you take, every comment you make, Facebook remembers it. And all of that data can be used to train Facebook algorithms. So what do Facebook algorithms do? Well, they learn what your likes are, and in your news feed, they present those articles or those posts from other people, your friends and others, that you like. Right? You have Instagram. How many of you use Instagram? What? Nobody? One person. Okay, well, Facebook owns Instagram as well. And there it's more for photographs. You post photographs. And you get ads coming up, right? And how do they know what ads you like? From Facebook, from Google. I mean, I've heard of people who mention something in a conversation, and then all of a sudden they get an ad for it. Whoa. Get rid of your cell phones. That's my advice. They're listening. I'm only kidding.
No, they are listening.
They are listening.
They are totally are listening.
Yeah. And Twitter. Look at all the Twitter comments. They can be used to train AI. Google searches. Why not the entire internet? Why not gobble up all the information on the internet and feed it into these neural networks, and we have a really smart system. Should I go on, or are you scared enough? Right? But this is the modern AI. Big data, powerful computers, and training these neural networks to recognize all kinds of things. They can recognize, well, you have it like on your phone. When you're looking at your pictures and you say, I want all the pictures of Ronnie. It'll come up and show me all the pictures of Ronnie. All right? Or I say, I want to see pictures of a cat. And lo and behold, it knows what a cat is. It has recognized all the images of a cat. All right? So you have that already. You have this AI residing on your phone. You may not know it. All right? But it's there. So let's go on. This is something that should be ingrained in your brain, because this is where we're going, to the future of AI. So let's talk about human AI competition. So this is AlphaGo. I'm going to cue this up. This is a YouTube video. So this is what a Go board looks like. It's 19 by 19 lines, and you put white and black pieces on the board, and you try to surround as much empty space as you can. And the one who has the most space is the winner. So this is a game where you can't use brute force, because there's an infinite number of moves. Right? It's just literally impossible to do it using brute force. So
It's a Japanese invention.
it's Chinese. Chinese, yeah. It's about 3 centuries old. It's been they play it a long time. So I want to play a little bit about this because the commentary is rather interesting.
It's intensely contemplative. it is almost hypnotic. It's like putting your hand on the third rail of the universe. If you play Go, seriously, there is a chance that you will get exposed to this experience that is kind of like nothing else on the planet. Go is putting you in a place where you're always at the very farthest reaches of your capacity. There's a reason that people have been playing Go for thousands and thousands of years, right? It's not just that they want to understand Go, they want to understand what understanding is. And maybe that is truly what it means to be human.
So this is the president of a company called DeepMind, and they were bought by Google, and he is now director of AI for Google. And DeepMind developed a program called AlphaGo that plays the game of Go. And they played against the world champion Lee Sedol, a Korean fellow, in 5 games, and they beat him. And this is a movie that you can get on YouTube about, a documentary about that match in the 5 games. And at one point, there's a move, 37. And you can see it when you go. I'm not going to do it here, but at 51 minutes and 50 seconds, he comes back from smoking a cigarette on the rooftop. He's taking a break. And he comes back and he looks at the board. AlphaGo has made a move which some people call the God move. And Lee Sedol says, I thought I'm playing a machine and probabilities, but this is really creative. This is a move I didn't expect, and AlphaGo predicted it was 1 in 10,000. So a human player who would play this, the probability of a human playing that move at that time would be 1 in 10,000. And so AI trained AlphaGo. It's a very simple rule. They say, okay, learn how to play this game. And it does it. It creates a neural network, and then it began playing itself, so it got even better. It speeds up the process of learning. So this is an example where modern AI, neural networks, big computers, large data sets, because they fed in thousands of games of Go. And they even had a European champion, play Go against AlphaGo and improve it. And then they had to play the world champion, Lee Sedol. So it's amazing what can be done. This is one example, all right? Another example is full self-driving. How many of you have any kind of self-driving in your car? I know Larry does. He has a Subaru, and it has a certain amount, like staying within the lanes, right? So you know, you've experienced some of it. Well, Tesla has full self-driving, they call it supervised now. It used to be in beta, now it's supervised. So I have it in my car, and I use it. And I wanted to explain to you how it works, all right? So what you have is autopilot, navigate on autopilot, driving on city streets and on highways. So you give it a destination, you turn it on. From my garage, it will take me, I can interfere with it if I want and just stop it, but it will take me from this subdivision, say to Riverview, or say to a Red Line Diner. I'm hungry, what can I? So those are my examples. And it's really good on highways too. So when I get to my destination, I'm pretty rested. Like if you do a 5-hour drive, you're going to be tired, right? But not in my car. It does the driving for me. So then the question is, how does it work, right? Well, the vehicle itself has instruments, has a supercomputer built into it, very powerful computer. It has sensors all around the car, cameras and sensors, so it can sense its surroundings. And then the software creates an understanding. So this is a picture of what the car sees. It gets a picture of the environment. And then it's used to control the driving, steering, acceleration, and braking. So it has to, it's like a robot. I've got a robot car, an AI robot car, right? It's a different way of thinking about a vehicle, right? And the neural networks in the supercomputer on my car are analyzing and interpreting all of this data and deciding what should be done in terms of the next moves. And so what I'm waiting for is for my car to recognize potholes so I can navigate around them, right? So it takes all this incoming data, it uses it to make decisions on what to do next in driving. And Tesla has built what they call Dojo, which is their supercomputer. And there's an actual picture of Dojo on the right. And Dojo trains the neural networks. So it takes all the video feeds of all the cars in the fleet. There are about 2 million cars on the road now. So it takes all that information, puts it into the supercomputer, recognizes objects, recognizes anomalies and good behavior driving, and then it trains, say, the mothership neural network. And periodically, Tesla sends down a software update with a new version of the neural network that's going to be on my computer, my car. And so in the future, we can think about cars communicating with one another and avoiding accidents, things like that, you know. So that's how it works. And I like this, the fact that I'm contributing to knowledge on good driving and then feeding this new neural network, and then a software update gives me the newest version of the neural network in my car. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool. My son said not to offer any rides to you because of the liability issues. But if you want to sign a non-disclosure, you know, and no liability, I'll give you a ride in my car. All right? So you have my email. Let me know if you want to ride. So this is someone else driving, and I want to go to 20 minutes and 52 seconds so you can see what the full self-driving does.
After watching this drive through San Jose,
20 minutes is a good
version of version 12 was very aggressive.
So what you're
but
saying,
again, this one does a much nicer job and creeps way slower until it can actually see. Coming up here, the car does something really incredible. As we approach this next red light, you might be able to see a mother walking her children across the street to the left. And instead of proceeding all the way to the stop line, full self-driving actually stops a little bit early to give them extra room. This is just such nice driving. Unfortunately, the human to the right doesn't do this. And watch the mother look at this car like, hey man, are you gonna stop or what? And then after they're completely out of our path, it goes ahead and moves towards the stop line. Absolutely incredible. I've seen some people wonder how full self-driving is ever going to be safer than a human if it's only trained on human data. And it's simple. It's just going to be very good driving human data and not data from that guy on our right. As we approach this next unprotected left turn, for some reason the car felt extremely hesitant to proceed. And I was like, why the heck is it so hesitant here? And then I saw the pedestrian walking through the crosswalk. Now, you can go back and watch that, but this pedestrian seemed to appear out of absolutely nowhere. Now, you can call me a bad driver all you want, but the car definitely handled that particular situation better than I would have.
So that's just an example of what the full self-driving can do. That's the latest version. So I'm pretty, I'm a proponent of it. Let's move on to another area where AI is making a big impact, and that is in drug discovery. And once again, DeepMind developed a program called AlphaFold. Now, the problem is that in protein folding, we just have a few of these proteins that have been folded, that we know how they work in 3D. And AlphaFold, essentially, if you're given the amino acids, there are 20 of them, and they can interact with one another, and these amino acids then cause the protein to fold.
What is protein folding?
What is it?
Yeah.
Ah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I'm going to answer that with a video.
Okay.
Just give me a second. So, if we can understand how the proteins fold, then we can design drugs that can interact with mutations that cause the proteins not to fold properly. And we can re-enable functions that people have lost because of mutations. So, to answer Larry's point, I'm going to go to this site, which is AlphaFold and Protein Folding Explained. It's almost as if I gave Larry the question ahead of time.
Inside every cell of your body, billions of tiny machines are hard at work. They carry oxygen in your blood, let your eyes detect light, and even make your muscles move. These machines are proteins, and they underpin every biological process in every living thing. Each protein has an intricate 3D shape that defines what it does and how it works. We know of over 200 million proteins and counting, but we only know the exact 3D shapes of a fraction of these. Unravel a protein, and you'll see it's like a string of beads made up of 20 different types of amino acids. Interactions between these amino acids make the protein fold, as it finds its shape out of almost limitless possibilities. For decades, a community of scientists have been working on a way to figure out a protein shape just from its string of amino acids. This is a major challenge in our understanding of biology. So we created an AI system to solve this problem called AlphaFold. It's trained on the sequences and structures of about 100,000 proteins, painstakingly mapped out by scientists around the world. Today, it can accurately predict a protein shape just from its sequence of amino acids. AlphaFold's predictions could enable progress in all sorts of areas. Imagine a future where we can understand diseases more quickly and develop drugs to fight them, or one where we could use enzymes to break down plastic waste, or even to capture carbon from the atmosphere, all with the help of proteins. There's a lot more work to be done, but unlocking the shapes of these building blocks could help scientists better understand the natural world, and perhaps expand our knowledge of life itself.
So the way a protein folds
Determines the function of the protein in the body, what it does.
what it does.
Right.
And does these proteins fold randomly or
No,
with purpose?
they fold with a purpose, but it depends on the sequence of amino acids and the interactions. And so what you have is the ability, if you understand the folding, you understand the function.
So AlphaFold is doing what? Predicting the fold?
AlphaFold predicts the fold, and it has a database now of about 100 million proteins. So its job now is to provide this folding, the prediction of the folding, to scientists who can then use it for drug discovery and understanding diseases. Yes,
Where are the proteins located?
in your
In the
body,
body, yes.
all
Cells of
over,
the body.
in the cells of your body, in every living being. So if we understand this, it's a big deal. And they had a competition, University of Maryland, every 2 years has a competition on this protein folding, and they have ground truth. They know how certain proteins fold, and so they present the protein, the amino acids, to the scientists, to these groups, and say, okay, predict how it's going to be. And so AlphaFold, after a while, was at 96%. So they said the problem is solved. And AlphaFold now is doing this prediction. So this is, once again, training a neural network to discover these patterns, to understand things, and with massive data, you know, the proteins that they knew how to fold, and it learned how to do it. Yes?
Are they determined shapes that the proteins take, or is this something that your body just constantly is creating indiscriminately when there's a problem that arises or something?
I'm not able to answer that completely,
Okay.
but I think normal proteins have specific ways to fold.
Okay.
But there may be mutations in your body, and so they may not fold the same way. And if we can find out how they're folding and maybe do some gene splicing, which is not part of our talk,
Right.
but gene splicing, then we can maybe correct that anomaly. How are we doing for time? Oh,
We're
So-
fine.
we're fine? Okay.
We have nothing but time.
No, but we have a certain amount of time here. So,
You mean on the planet?
no, in the talk. So I'm not gonna play this, but this is an interview with the president of DeepMind, the CEO of DeepMind, on this protein folding. It's a long interview, but if you're interested, you can follow the link. And remember, I'm gonna make this presentation available as a PDF, so you can all do it. Oh, I didn't want that. Now, another area, and these are two programs that were developed at MIT. One is to detect breast cancer from mammographies. And what this program can do is predict whether someone will have breast cancer within the next 5 years. Now that's pretty startling, right? Very important, right? And the second program, Sybil, was developed with Massachusetts General Hospital, and it uses what's called a single low-dose chest computed tomography, LDCT scan, and it can predict whether someone is going to get lung cancer. So these are two programs, and I have links to them so you can go to the MIT pages and read about it, but I'm not going to do it here. Now this is the kind of the interesting part. The new areas that we're looking at is generative AI, which is capable of generating new content in the form of text, images, audio, video, and computer code. So think of it this way. You tell it what you want, and it does it for you.
Now, this is the area that's extremely contentious because you don't know whether it's real or it's not.
It's contentious, yes, because, as I say down here, you can have fake news, deep fakes where someone takes your voice and synthesizes it with a video of someone else and puts it on someone else's body. It's serious shit. Excuse my expression, right?
You'll get a letter about it.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get a letter from the HOA.
Yeah.
All right. So these are all things we need to take into account, and it is but you know there are good things about it too. And so we have to look at the good and the bad and the ugly and decide how best to regulate it, if it needs to be regulated. I know that a lot of young females have their faces put on nude bodies, and then they're posted on Facebook or whatnot. It ruins their reputation. And it causes tremendous emotional stress for them. And this is something that we have to take into consideration. So one example of generative AI is in ChatGPT. How many of you have used ChatGPT? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 people. Well, Nancy Witt probably used it to write her letters. So what ChatGPT does, and this is kind of, it blows me away. ChatGPT performs a variety of tasks, including answering questions, writing essays. So those college essays, you can tell when ChatGPT wrote them, right? But in the classroom, who's writing the essay? So now professors are saying, I want the first draft done in class, just so they know that the people are actually writing the essay and not ChatGPT, all right? And it generates this content in a conversational manner. So like you're talking to an AI, but it sounds like a human being to you. It knows, what does it know? It knows everything on the internet. It was trained on everything on the internet up to April 2023. So it knows a lot. And it can tell you it rather nicely. And the chat in ChatGPT emphasizes the idea of dialogue. Not only that, it knows your context. So you don't have to keep asking the same question. It knows, here's the answer to your question. Say, rephrase it, and it'll rephrase it. It'll say, give me this prose in the style of Shakespeare. My God, you can't believe it. Or give it to me in rap. All right? It knows it. It'll do it for you. All right? So it's good for applications like virtual assistants, customer service bots, tutoring systems. So why are all these Fortune 500 companies or S&P 500 companies using ChatGPT? You can give it information that's particular to your company, like how to fill out a purchase order. Nobody reads manuals anymore, right? What you do is you go to someone who knows how to do it. Now you can go to ChatGPT, tell me how I fill out this purchase order. And it'll do it for you. And if you give it the information, it'll actually fill it out for you. Now Larry is there in disbelief. I think I've shaken him to the core. So I hope that you'll continue to like me as a person, even though I've done this to you.
Well, I happen to know that you're not a real person.
Ah, so I'm an AI. Yes, that's cool. That's cool. And it says ChatGPT is designed to respect user privacy and confidentiality. But why is OpenAI being sued by all these companies and people? Because they did it without permission. They sucked in all this information without copyrights. There's certain things called copyrights. So Ilya, he says we're going to have to rewrite the copyright rules. They no longer apply in the digital age.
Wow.
Right?
Isn't this a little bit after the horse is out of the barn type of thing?
Of course, it's always that way. Like Google, they scanned all the books in the libraries and said, oops, I'm sorry, I beg your forgiveness. But they still did it. And then they settled for some pittance with the publishers. Right? That's the way it works. They just do it, and then they say, I'm sorry.
How does the AI determine what's false and what's true on the internet? Because there's so much misinformation on the internet.
Right. Well, I've been reading a little bit about it. They pay people $300,000 a year just to, they're called prompt engineers. They go in and clean up the bad stuff. All right?
Very effectively.
Now,
But the
Penny,
bad stuff is subjective.
that's subjective, right? So who's to say it's bad?
Right.
Just maybe not. Now, if you want a woke chat box, I can do one for you. But I don't know. But here's an interesting point. Elon Musk said the salaries for AI people are going through the roof. Do you know how much they're offering an AI, someone who knows a little bit about AI to work on these systems? Take a guess.
I'm not even gonna guess. I'm too upset.
You'll be too upset? Who said that? You did. How about $1 million a year plus stock options? So we should all retrain to be prompt engineers at least, so we can make $300,000 a year. Amazing. Yes.
That's basically how it was when the whole computer industry started and businesses started using it. Nobody knew how to use it.
Right.
So kids right out of college would come in, or out of high school, who knew how to use it. And they were just demanding salaries, and they were getting it because there was
Right.
nobody else to do it.
That's right. That's right. So with every new field, and particularly AI, there's a big demand right now for people who are trained in the area, and they can make a lot of money. So I put in a graphic because I know you people don't like to read a lot of text. So I put in the OpenAI logo here. All right? So one of OpenAI's products is DALL-E. It's named after Salvador Dali, but it's spelled DALL-E. So I asked DALL-E, I gave it a text prompt. I said, a wolf in sheep's clothing howling at the moon. And this is the image it produced for me.
Oh, gosh.
So you give it text, it could be very descriptive. You describe the objects in it, and it will give you an image. Now that's pretty cool, right?
No,
No? Who said no?
I'm an artist, I don't like this at all.
Good job, Renee.
So Renee is a doubter. That's good. We always have one of those in the group. But it's amazing. Not only that, you can say refine it, and it'll come back with another version. I did one this morning of a truck with flames coming out of the back. And it was amazing. And I said, well, show me the truck from the rear. And it just reversed it and showed me the flames coming out of the truck. So it's just amazing. It generates images from textual descriptions. And there was a seminal paper by Google engineers on transformers. And that paper kind of was a precursor of all that we're seeing now. And they had I watched a panel discussion at the NVIDIA conference. And all of the members of that team were there talking about the work and what they're doing now. They've all gone on, they've left Google, they've started their own companies. They're all very smart, and they're all very young. That's something I noticed. These people are in their 30s, and they're creating the systems of the future for us. So I think you should explore it. I pay OpenAI $20 a month to get the pro version, so I get ChatGPT 4. It has DALL-E. If we have time, I'll give you some demos later. It's just amazing. Just amazing what it can do. And the idea of the transformer is that you're going from, say, a string input, a language maybe, and you say translate it to Japanese. Bang, no problem. Okay? Write haiku for me, no problem. Yeah.
It seems like every human interaction, a lot on the internet, it's biased. It's everybody's opinion. Is there any it would be really revolutionary to find an absolute truth. Is there any?
What is
there
absolute
Yeah,
truth?
but would AI be able to do that?
That's a very good question. Let's wait a little bit
Okay.
Yeah.
and see if we answer that. Okay, but you can see now that people will be displaced because the designers, graphic design, content creation, concept art, DALL-E can do that for you. So those people will have to find other kind of work. I don't know how many of you are photographers, but Photoshop, they give you a certain number of prompts, like you want to put a cat into a picture, it'll put a cat in the picture for you. I haven't used it that much. I'd rather just take my photographs, but when you see something like this, it's pretty neat, right? And one of my students, his name is Hengi Hu, H-U, not W-H-O, but H-U, and he did a thesis with me using a data set for Alzheimer's, about 4,000 cases, and he created what's called a Bayesian network. And that Bayesian network consulted a number of dictionaries, let's say, and to look for causality, and so we could iterate. So he took his findings of his thesis and he put it into ChatGPT. So he calls it the Hengi's GPT Advisor for Alzheimer's Disease. I don't know if any of you have relatives or friends who have Alzheimer's, but you can ask questions of this. You can say what variables are in your model, what parameters are in your model, what are the major factors in Alzheimer's. You can ask, are there clinical trials going on in Alzheimer's? So it knows not only what Hengi did, but everything else about Alzheimer's. And so if you say, well, I have a friend with Alzheimer's, how do I get them treatment? It will tell you, right? What are the ICD-10 codes for Alzheimer's disease? So, this is good. So if you go to a doctor and the doctor says, well, has pre-Alzheimer's, and he'll give a code to it. That code can be rather helpful in terms of the treatment plans. So I look at it as a benefit. Now, I don't want to go, I could go to his ChatGPT through this link, but I'd rather go through my slides and then give you a demo later, all right? Anybody here have friends or relatives with Alzheimer's? So this is very relevant for you. Safety and security. We know we have to eventually bite the bullet and regulate AI. When it's done, we don't know, but there are international organizations, there are federal guidelines. I found this morning from the White House on how to test AI systems. You have the World Economic Forum that talks about it. You have a study group at the United Nations. And I have these underlines or links, and you can see that for yourself. One of the problems with chatbots, like ChatGPT and others, is they'll make stuff up. It's called hallucination. They hallucinate, just like us. So we hallucinate too. Our brains, they want to make sense of something, and so we create a story, right? So they create a story for you. They want you to be happy. Yeah. I asked ChatGPT to give my biography, and so it said that I'm an expert in knowledge discovery and whatnot, and I got my PhD or my undergraduate degree at City University and my PhD at Purdue, and that's absolutely false, But it was very happy to tell me that. So you have to be careful. So are there guardrails for AI? Well, there's this company, Anthropic, which has produced this Claude chatbot. And they say that Claude is a next generation AI assistant built for work and trained to be safe and accurate and secure. And they use something called constitutional AI to train Claude to obey the rules. All right? So what is constitutional AI, you ask? All right? It's a constitution for AI. So Claude says constitutional AI refers to a set of principles and techniques for developing artificial intelligence systems that are aligned with human values and interests. That's nice. The goal is to create AI systems that are fundamentally trustworthy and beneficial to humanity, rather than potentially dangerous or misaligned. That's nice too. It draws on ideas from machine ethics, value alignment, and AI safety research. The specific techniques and implementation details are still an active area of research and development in the AI safety community. So it's an evolving process, and hopefully some of these ideas will stick. All right. So let's talk about some personalities in AI. We have Jeff Hinton, considered the godfather of modern AI, and that link takes you to a 60 Minutes interview with him. It's worth watching. All of them are worth watching. So he he recently left Google to be able to speak out on the dangers of AI. So he feels that there's a real problem coming. Sam Altman. How many of you have heard of Sam Altman? Yeah. 38 years old. He's the CEO of OpenAI. Actually, OpenAI was founded by Elon Musk and Sam Altman together as a nonprofit. And all of a sudden, we find that one weekend he's fired from his position. The board said that he wasn't completely honest with them. He wasn't forthcoming. And why? Because he has a deal. He got in bed with Microsoft. They're investing billions of dollars in AI, in OpenAI. So how can you have a company that's both nonprofit and for-profit? Sorry. There's a dichotomy there. All right? And Ilya Sutskever, he's co-founder of OpenAI, and he developed ChatGPT. So you can blame him for all this mess. But he was one of the people who wanted Sam Altman fired. And then when he realized what he had done, he wanted him back. So he came back. Now, Elon Musk. How many of you have heard of Elon Musk? If you haven't, where have you been, right? So he's a serial entrepreneur. He's CEO of Tesla, SpaceX. Tesla makes the cars. SpaceX makes the rockets. The Boring Company. Twitter. He bought Twitter. He founded X.AI and Neuralink, which wants to insert a computer chip in your brain. All right? So he worries about the unbridled development of AI and proposes guardrails. So he's one of the good guys.
That's what I call
Right? And finally, Ray Kurzweil, who's an AI pioneer, and he built the Kurzweil reading machine a long time ago. And he's been talking about the technological singularity. And then you wonder, what is the singularity, right? It's the point in time when AI becomes smarter than humans. That's scary. When AI is going to be smarter than humans. These big, and you say, wait a minute. We'll just turn off these computers. Turn the machines off. Why not?
the world will end.
The world will end, right? We're already relying on AI in ways that we don't even know. And it's going to get worse. But when they get smarter than us, then how will they treat us? How will AI treat humans? Will we be kind of pesky friends? Disposable?
I've seen Terminator.
Ah, that's an excellent.
Stanley
Not
Kubrick
on- not-
did it.
Your name is Renee, right? Yeah. Renee, I need you at every talk I give. So it's when it achieves what we call artificial global intelligence, that it knows everything. So what are some of the changes that are going to occur when that happens? Will we be like dogs to AI? Nice pets that keep around? Or will they decide that we're too destructive and we have to disappear because we wage war against each other? We're the only species that goes out and wages war against each other. So territorial. So, these are open questions. I don't know the answer.
Very cool.
Very cool, right?
Absolutely.
Very cool. Now see, Larry, he's my buddy. He's going to say whatever I tell him to say. Now, the thing is, one area that Ilya talks about is healthcare. Right now, you have to schedule an appointment to see your doctor. Maybe you get it 3-4 months down the road, right? Right? It's rationed. But once you have AI to tell you, I have these symptoms, AI will tell you, well, here are the possible diagnoses. Here are the treatments. When you get to the doctor's office, you tell the doctor what you're going to do, what he's going to do for you, or she's going to do for you. It's going to be it's going to reverse things. We're going to see societal changes when we have this AI. Enough said. I don't want to get you too depressed so early in the morning. So here are the conclusions. Generative AI is really new and exciting. It can be used for good as well as bad. I didn't put the word evil. Now, Renee would have put the word evil in there. ChatGPT and other chatbots are here to stay, so let's use them wisely. AI affects us all, and as we give these systems more and more responsibility, we must be aware of the consequences, because we're giving up power to AI in decision-making in our lives. What will the world be like for your children and grandchildren? We're not going to feel it as much as they are. But will there be a time when we don't work and we just get enough money to subsist? Will we get this minimum wage for everybody? All right. Will humans be subservient to AI, or will they be partners? So the question, I'm going to open it up for discussion. What do you think? And I'm going to try to answer Kathy's question about ground truth. I think that there may be ground facts, and we can talk about facts, and you can do fact checking, which we do, but I think truth is in the eyes of the beholder. So I don't believe in one truth. Right? So you have to filter what you read, what you hear through your own belief system up here. And that is the truth that you have. Yes?
Truth is also agreement.
Truth is also agreement. Right, it's a social process, right, to come to the truth.
And isn't this an age-old philosophic question that people have been asking? What are the absolutes? Are there absolutes?
Yeah. I would imagine. Renee, what do you have to say about this?
I just had another question I was thinking about.
Okay.
I just wonder, like, if your brain, from when you're a child, they talk about the convolutions of the brain forming because you're using different parts of your brain and you're creating I guess, memory and stuff. When you're not doing all those things, when they're being done for you, how does that affect how your brain develops? Because, I mean, if we're not, yeah, exactly, exercising our brains, and they're not developing, aren't we becoming just like a lot of mush up there? I mean, we're just not learning anything. I mean, we're not learning the things we should be learning. Or we're not, our brain isn't processing those things, and therefore it's not learning.
Well,
Because we're a computer just like AI, right? I mean,
well, yeah, but you know, I'll tell you my own experience. You know, we're all retired, right? We're all living in a retirement community, but I was really just turned on mentally, physically, by running this. I co-curated with Ronnie this Focus on Photographers show, and it really opened up a lot of avenues for me, mentally, physically, and I still talk to Ronnie, which is amazing too, right? And then I did this talk, and I had to learn a lot about different fields that I knew about tangentially, but I had to study them more for this talk, and I found that invigorating. So you have to find projects.
well, I guess I'm thinking more of young, like children who are just starting to develop their brains.
Yeah.
And they're not doing the things that we did when we were young to develop our brains.
Like
So,
math.
Like doing math and
Yeah.
and-
Yeah, right.
exactly.
What's math? What's math? Right? You have a calculator.
Yeah. I
You
mean,
know,
That's a very good question.
and I have some relatives in Montauk, and their kids learn math with squares and circles and lines. And I said, what the hell is this? You know, it's not the math that I know. 2 and 2 isn't 5.
I just wonder if they've done studies to see how the brain.
I'm sure.
doesn't
Just
develop.
think
But
of
the
the
answer to
influence
that
of
is
cell phones.
probably we're going to get worse. Our mind won't develop.
Well, it may, yeah.
You know,
Or-
the only way it'll develop is by how we frame the questions to AI.
or whether we have AI in our brains.
Yes,
Ronnie,
eventually,
Ronnie.
I was going to comment, I was going to comment that our brains can start using AI brain as our data set.
Right.
And why could not our brain begin developing even greater capacity using AI as another universal data
Always
set?
the optimist.
Always
I
the
agree.
optimist.
That's
The-
right.
The approach to take, in my mind, as I begin to understand this, is to use the hell out of it,
Right.
enhance my life, enhance my intelligence, enhance my longevity by using something very different, very frightening, but it's there for me to use. And why not grab it and make it work for me for the time I'm left?
Right. That's a
I
good
got
point.
20 more years.
Yeah, but-
I can use
Yeah.
it.
Getting back to Renee's point, I think if we look at kids nowadays and their use of cell phones and the fact that they're on Twitter for hours at a time, or Twitter or Facebook, that's very different from the way we were. You know, we read, we watched TV, we read comic books, things like that, which they don't do. So
Yes.
it's an interesting point. Penny, you wanted to say something?
What do you imagine comes after AI? What's the next level of technology? Is this the ultimate end of it? Is it gonna, well, I guess I'll just leave it at that. Is this
Well,
where-
I think it's
Sorry?
going to have us rethink our relationship with technology through AI. I don't know. I think there's a lot. Technology is always at work. Other factors are at work. If we survive a nuclear war, great. I'm really concerned about the way people are making decisions. We didn't talk about AI in the military. In Israel, they used AI to look for the Hamas militants, and they used it. We will have autonomous missile systems, autonomous weapons that will be AI based. It's scary as a hell, you know. So we have to be aware of it, and we have to say we don't want it. You know, if that's the case, so you have to be political about it. Right. You had a question?
Yeah, when you talk about AI, how does it really differ? I mean, like, for example, you were talking about the Alzheimer lookup. I mean, you do those things now on Google. You can go in with some diagnose and get everything you wanted to ever know about that.
Right.
Where does the divide come between artificial intelligence, but is it all computing in a sense artificial? And also, why is, if it's humans who design these systems, so why would they get out of control? Because if they why can't humans go back in and redesign the system?
Because they're so smart.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is
How
they,
can they outsmart a human when it's only doing what the human originally designed it to do?
right, that's where this AI is different because it can learn. So humans have one kind of mentality, one kind of learning that they can provide the AI. But once AI gets exposed to the world, it can learn things that maybe humans don't understand even. And it becomes part of their knowledge base. And so at some point,
They become,
we may lose control of the AI. And you can't turn it off. I mean, AI can jump from one machine to another. It's distributed all over the world. So you turn off one machine, it'll move.
But you could turn off all the machines.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck doing that. You can't have my laptop. My AI wouldn't allow it. Right?
I guess I'm thinking the difference between Google and an AI application is intelligent prediction. Google's feeding you what is already out there and known. AI is now taking that information and doing intelligent prediction,
It does prediction, yes.
which Google doesn't do.
Right.
Because they have more data.
No, it's
Because
not
it is
more
a
data.
No, it's just
It's the
it's
ability
it's a
to-
different concept.
To change,
Google has its own AI called BART. You know, so you can, or Bard, so you can consult Bard. I don't use it, but if you think about searches, you can get a list of results. And then say you want to buy a product. So you get a list of results. And you can click on each link and then decide if that product is the one you want. Now, ChatGPT would say, I want to buy a product, give me the 10 best products with these features. And it will do it because it knows it. So it's a dialogue between you and the chatbot. And that's different from you're giving Google a question, it's giving you an answer. Because you still have to do the work. So the chatbot has already done all the work for you. And it understands what your intent is. It understands the context, why you're asking for that question. That's what blows me away. Because that is really interesting. If you use, say, Gmail, and you're typing, and all of a sudden it's completing your whole line, you just have to press tab, and it completes your line for you. How can it predict that? Because that's what AI is doing for it.
To a certain degree, I get that now. If I go into Google and I Google something, well, lo and behold, for the next month, I get emails related to that subject in one way or another.
Right,
And so
because
they're taking my information and
they're tracking you.
sending me things they think I might be interested in that had some connection to my
Is it
inquiry.
a privacy issue? It's not a privacy
It's,
No, it's not a privacy issue. It's just that they track you. In the Apple universe, you can say, ask the app not to track you. But most of the time, all these apps are tracking you and knowing what you're doing, and Google tracks you, and then they sell this information to advertisers who put
Right.
advertisements in your mailbox or in your news feed on Facebook. That's the way it works. So here is, I asked Claude to give me a definition of AI in rap verse. Right? So I'm going to read this to you. All right? Yo! Let me break it down for you in some sick rhymes. Artificial intelligence, the future is sublime. It's the ability of machines to learn and grow, solving problems surpassing what humans can know. From machine learning to natural language, computer processing speech, it's a whole new age. Computer vision, identifying what the eye can see. Reasoning skills, solving problems creatively. You want me to speed it up? I need
Sing it, baby.
the goal is creating systems that can rival the mind, perceiving, learning, leaving humans behind. AI is expanding, capabilities on the rise. The future is bright, just open your eyes. So that's AI in a nutshell, the tech of tomorrow, revolutionizing how we live, work, and sorrow. Now that, I think, is sublime. That really got me when I saw the sorrow word. A game-changing field, the future is in its hands. AI is the future, you best understand. So here's your homework. I have a whole bunch of, this is the first time, usually in a scholarly paper you have references of other papers. These are all YouTube videos. So, and I'll send this to Carol and she'll distribute it. Whoever wants it, or you can email me. Yeah.
I want to thank you profusely for opening my eyes